Welcome back to the Old-Fashioned Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, James Moran, sitting here with my co-host, Gary Vitrone.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. So what we're going to do for you guys today is show you an auction. We did this last night. We're breaking it down today.
It's auction day, baby.
Thought it went pretty well.
Yeah, I was happy with it.
12-team PPR auction on ESPN with live people. Gotta love it. Gotta love doing the live.
Yep, no
Absolutely.
bots. Everybody was in there. It was awesome. Great time.
Absolutely. Fortunately, we're close enough to actual auction draft season.
It's the season, man.
It's
We're
the
here.
Season. So now you can do these live drafts with a ton of people, which is what we recommend.
Oh,
At this
yes.
point, you need to switch. I love going to Sleeper initially for those mocks without people. If you can get other people in your league or whatever to mock with you on Sleeper, do it. Figure out how they like to mock.
Exactly.
But if you can't go there, then that's when I recommend going to ESPN, doing live mocks. But you got to do – this is the big thing. You got to keep doing live mocks because those opinions change.
The ADPs always move.
Absolutely.
It never stays the same.
Absolutely.
Yep, got to keep doing it. Get after it.
Yep, and you never know. One auction or one draft is going to have one weirdo, one random in there.
Oh, there always is.
But that's what happens. You do a few of these, you really get a vibe of where the community's at. So let's go ahead and start this one, break it down. So we've talked about this before. This isn't our first auction for the podcast. Our big thing, we want to spend up at our starters, but then make sure we have a little bit of cash just held in reserve for our favorite late bench guys that we know we want on our roster, not someone else's. So the big thing, spending at those RB positions, those positions that matter the most. And get your guy.
Get your guy. That's what we said last time. Nothing changes here. Go get your guy. Don't be afraid to spend up a little bit more to make sure you really get the player that you want. That's the best thing about auction. You don't have to sit there and wait for half an hour while everybody's making their pick, and then you watch all those studs come off the board. Go get your guy.
Absolutely.
It's the best thing.
Absolutely. And so, Gary, we always have a budget planned for this. It's something we highly recommend.
You need one.
You absolutely need one. Now, we went a little off.
A little off script, a little over budget. Just
at the very beginning. But again, to get your guy and to get a guy that we think is a difference maker.
Exactly. It all comes down to the tier breaks. So that's what you'll see that we did once the draft actually launches.
I just said for sure, by the way.
Hey,
Cheers.
Good catch. Because what we normally try to do is spend about $120 to $130 on those starting two running backs.
Right.
That's what our team is completely based off of. The other 60, 70, or 70, 80 bucks will go towards the rest of our players with emphasis usually on either tight end or like a wide receiver one or flex. Rarely tight end is what we spend up on, but we spent a little today.
Tight end, it depends on those tiers. We really do think there's a difference between those top 6 guys and everyone else.
Oh, totally.
Now, there's Kelsey's in a tier on his own, but we don't go for him because of how much he is.
Yeah, he's like 50 some odd bucks or something. Like
absolutely. He's going for the same. Did I say absolutely was our next new one, right?
That was.
All right, cheers.
Hey.
I think I actually said that twice.
I think you did too. We'll listen to it back tomorrow.
So when we talk about, yes, Kelsey is the same cost as the top wide receivers, Devontae, Tyreek. So we're not looking at that. But when I can get TJ Hawkinson for $5-6,
right? Exactly.
That's a lot easier to take in an auction than it is to go and get him in, say, the 5th, 6th round.
Exactly. Yeah, that's way more convenient. And the draft has kicked off. Patrick Mahomes is the first nominee. Quarterback is something we refuse to pay up for.
Absolutely not.
So we were okay just sitting back, watching everybody bid. And just enjoying it.
Now, if this had been us with the first pick, we're the second pick.
Yep.
If this had been us with the first, I don't think we would have gone Mahomes as the first pick. We would have picked either Kelsey, one of the top wide receivers, or maybe a running back that we weren't as high on. So, say Ezekiel Elliott.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Something like that. One of those top running backs that we'd love to get if we get the right price, but otherwise we'll let them all spend.
Let everybody spend their money. Yeah, exactly.
And we do usually believe that, though, that the first running back off the board is the one that goes for less than he should.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's the most consistent way we found to get value is grab that first one. Sometimes you'll see it absolutely. This is a case-by-case situation. If it gets to $10 more, $8 more than the pre-draft value, then I'm backing away.
Right,
usually.
yeah, just bail. There's no shame. That's perfect, yeah, because winner's curse, right? Let somebody else overpay for one of those guys.
Correct.
It's totally fine with us.
Correct, definitely.
So there goes Devontae. How much is he at right now?
He's at 59.
59, yeah.
So this was the guy we put forward, top position that we weren't going to touch.
Exactly, yep. At this point, we just want everybody to spend a few bucks.
Correct.
We'll wait patiently for the first running back to come off the board.
Today, in case you're wondering, we are drinking Long Branch Old Fashions, Long Branch by Wild Turkey.
It is delicious.
It's great. If you want to know how we made these Old Fashions, you can go check our Twitter, Old FF Podcast, or our Instagram, the same Old FF Podcast, to check out a video about it.
I've got to say, it is a hell of a video.
Thank
it is
you.
just outstanding.
There are 2 parts.
There's 2 parts, yes.
But they are great. It does a really good breakdown. I personally think.
Oh, the analysis, bro? That was awesome.
Thank you, Gary. In case you're wondering, I'm the one in the video.
He's the one. Yep,
Gary,
exactly.
Gary talks me up. He's a good best friend.
And there goes Travis Kelce. So somebody that, like you said, Jay, we're avoiding just because we don't want to pay about $55, $60 bucks.
Exactly why. He's going for $65 right now. He's going for more than Devontae.
Yes.
This is, again, everyone loves Kelce. Everyone loves Kelce. You see these favorites really show here, even more than in a snake, I would say, because in a snake, everyone's looking at ADP. Everyone's looking at that.
Exactly, right.
These guys get pulled up here. But sometimes you can really sneak guys in if they're not the favorite, if they're not the guy that everyone's in love with. Now, here, we did go for someone who's everyone's in love with, CMC.
We did. We took a shot here. First running back off the board with the 4th pick, which feels actually a little bit unusual. Quarterback,
very unusual.
Wide receiver, and then tight end. That was kind of funny. But, we were aggressive here. CMC is in a tier of his own for us. I think with most people, I don't know anybody that has him outside of number 1.
No.
So, we definitely value him similarly and in a tier of his own.
And we didn't get his backup here, but if you're someone who is nervous about that, Chuba Hubbard started the first game of preseason.
And he did look good.
He did look good.
He had a couple big runs, and then at the end of the second quarter, watching him try to hurdle the Indy linebacker
and fail
was hilarious. It's like, you can't get away with that in the NFL. Like, you're not Saquon. You're not Zeke. Just chill for a second. That was hilarious. That could have been really bad.
But we got him for $77.
Slightly above budget. We were fine going above to get our guy, though. We weren't worried at all about that.
No. And I think that was the big thing with the next guy we grabbed is he was a little more expensive than we want to spend our RB2, but we did think there was a teardrop there after him.
And I thought the value was good there.
The value was good.
Well, it was surprising.
Absolutely.
Which you guys will see momentarily.
For sure. Cheers.
Hey. Is that 3 already?
Mm-hmm. It's the second for sure, but we've had also a kind of a 1-2 of absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And here's the thing about auctions too. So we knew at this point, once you start to build out your roster, you start looking for certain pieces. So we knew we weren't going to be spending up on a Dalvin Cook or a Zeke or Alvin Kamara. Some of those guys, they're just going to be too expensive. You've got to fill out the whole roster. We started targeting some of the running back 2s at this point that we thought had some good upside. So we're kind of thinking about staying within that $120, $130 budget. But you play the hand that you're dealt, right? So if a value presents itself on a guy that you think is in a tier of his own or has a great chance of some upside, go ahead and get your guy. Don't be afraid to spend a few extra bucks.
You've got to be fluid in these situations, especially in these drafts. But we immediately were happy with going for the first. $77 for Christian McCaffrey, $74 for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
$3. Absolutely.
I'm thrilled. I would take that every day. Yeah.
I want that difference there. Derrick Henry goes for $75, 2 less than Christian McCaffrey.
And this
absolutely happy with
yeah, I'm thrilled with the CMC pick at this point. And this is still a full PPR, right?
Yes. This is a full PPR. So, as I mentioned before, I believe.
Which the only reason I say that is Derrick Henry going above Dalvin Cook was kind of interesting there. Just because the receptions are not going to be there for Henry, which is fine. I mean, he's the rushing king, so rushing
they're not.
champ.
But I think a lot of people have him as the third, and possibly as that tier break. For us, it's Alvin Kamara is also in that top tier. But there are people that have that tier break after Derrick Henry.
Totally.
So you see people, we've talked about it before, they pay up at the end of the tier. If you wait for the end of a tier, usually that's the guy who's going for more than he should.
And it's nice to see it work out in practice.
Definitely.
There's your boy. There's Zeke.
There was a pause there as I tried to think of a different
Right.
word.
It's like, how else can I say I agree?
Yes.
There went Zeke.
He went for less. He went for $11 less, which there's a tier break there.
Yeah, that's kind of a big – I mean, we talked about this on multiple episodes. The Cowboys as a team just give us a little bit of pause. It's mostly the O-line health concerns. It's the O-line health,
I mean, yes.
That's really it. Zeke's a rock star, but, I mean, you saw him struggle last year. The floor is there. Like, there's no way he doesn't finish as a top 12 guy. It's just the upside. That's the only concern.
Exactly. Definitely scared about the durability of that offensive line. Tyron Smith.
You already saw it this year.
Right. Zach Martin already getting injured.
It was good to see Lyle Collins start at least last week. That was good.
Yes. And I do like the fact that they're moving Connor Williams around.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
To center. They're trying to find ways to make this offensive line work with people out, but that's the problem. They have to do that every single season, and it just hasn't worked out well enough yet. You've seen a drop in value of Zeke, of Dak, every year with when that offensive line goes. So
facts.
Not trying to curse anyone injury-wise. Very sad when it happens. Those guys
sucks.
Are incredibly talented. But it's a reality of fantasy football.
It really is. It sucks. That's the worst part about the game. And there goes Saquon. All right, so at this point, what were you thinking about Saquon? We didn't want him, but as far as a value perspective, where is he on your board at this point? After having seen him practice for a couple days, they did give him the day off the next day, but he was at practice. So what does that tell you?
I like where he went here. He went for right at the same value as Zeke, and I think they're very different picks, but right around the same sort of position within drafts. So you have the guy with all the upside in the world, Saquon, when he's healthy.
Oh, yes.
And then you've got the guy with probably one of the safest floors in Zeke. So you really have how you view the first round pick. Now, we went CMC. We went for all the upside and the security.
Yes, we did.
But when we're talking about that first round, I'm picking security first. I'm going to take my lottery picks. I'm going to take my long shots later in the draft.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
And so here comes up Jonathan Taylor, pre-draft value of 59. And quite frankly, we were amazed that he was going for less than what was his pre-draft value.
That was surprising. And we were not, like, when he came up, I was not expecting us to get Jonathan Taylor because I thought he was going to be too expensive. We like Jonathan Taylor. There was positive news about both Quentin Nelson and Carson. So having seen that gave us some more confidence in drafting him. If there had been some sort of setback or if we didn't have any news, might have been a little more of a pause. Everything seems good so far.
I was really happy with that either way because he was our RB2.
Right, exactly.
The fact that Jonathan Taylor was our RB2, I'll take him there at that discount of $57.
Give it to me every day, baby.
Going for $8 less than Saquon, going for $9 less than Zeke.
Think about it. You're still behind a top two, arguably, offensive line. Like, you're good. The touches are absolutely going to be there. So it feels kind of like a Zeke play in the fact that you've got
Safety.
A floor.
Absolutely.
Right? And
we don't. Crud. Cheers.
Yes. 4. Need to keep a little tally mark now. Oh, my God.
But the security and the safety there, like
there. And there's some upside too, right? I mean, catches a few more passes. I mean, the touchdown numbers go up. You saw him come on the back half of the year. He had a good season overall. Crushed it. Was absolutely setting the league ablaze. The back half.
Now, honestly, the biggest worry for me is not injury. It's what Marlon Mack will take away. Now, what was interesting, and I don't want to give too much credence to the first preseason game.
Right. I mean,
Marlon Mack was in there first, but almost immediately after, Jordan Wilkins was in there. Nyheim Hines was not one of those first guys, which was surprising to me because I thought he would be in there as the pass catcher role.
I thought so too.
If you're going to use more of a 1-2 punch with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, then I'm really excited for Jonathan Taylor's pass catching upside.
That would be amazing, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that that's the way it's going to break out for sure, but I was intrigued to see it show that way in preseason. So we'll see.
Yeah, let's see this
Closer.
weekend too what happens. Yeah, if they want to use him
Correct.
a little bit more.
So
Tyreek.
here was Joe Mixon, and this was a guy we were happy not to touch.
And we talked about him too. At what price do we like? We are. I like Joe Mixon as a person. I am completely out on him in fantasy football.
I'm completely out on that offensive line. That's
The
what
O
we're
line
on
is terrifying,
than
man. And Mixon is going to have week-winning performances where
Yes.
he's just like 3 touchdowns, just rock star performance. They're going to be few and far between. It's not happening often.
No.
The floor is really not there.
And
You
with
saw it
that
last year.
division,
Dude, I hate that division.
that division is so
It's a
brutal.
fun division, but man, it's ugly.
And so Joe Mixon went for $41. We were happy not to touch him there. We made the
We talked
discussion.
about this, yeah.
I want to say, I think you said $20 was too. I'm going to go higher than that. I'm going probably
low
25, 30, right around there. But I'm much happier getting the guys we got. And that's the thing. I'm not forced to draft him in auction. That's the thing. Do not feel forced because someone you do not like goes for less than what you expected. So, for instance, last year,
Correct.
I had a league where T.Y. Hilton went for $4. I didn't want T.Y. Hilton last year.
You did not.
And guess what?
What?
That was great to let him go for $4 because he was absolutely
he's worthless.
useless. So, for fantasy football, he was absolutely useless.
Correct.
Couldn't have been happier with the way that broke down. Talk about a couple of the guys. Tyreek Hill went for $2 more than Jonathan Taylor. Again, we just don't pay up for the wide receivers.
Yeah, at this point, we barely even would have budget for that. We technically could do it, but that's not part of our budget strategy.
No, we didn't actually have budget.
Did we really not? What's our max bid?
Our max is $53.
Oh, that's
We
hilarious.
went for $59. So, but this is I want to point this out. We definitely did not expect to get our RB2 5 guys after Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that was
have
surprising.
To stay alert.
Gotta
at
pay
every
attention.
point. And I'll call out. There are 2 guys later on that were guys I felt we missed on in this auction. This was a real auction. Where
It was competitive. It was a really good auction, too.
it was a great one. Yes. And I thought it was amazing to see. It was a great one also because you saw a lot of people who did the kind of stars, scrubs
That's
style.
the way you absolutely have to go stars
that-
and scrubs.
Is exactly the way that you should go in these auctions. It just consistently works.
It works, man.
The thing is that it works and works. It works. It's worked.
It's like,
for
hey,
multiple
you mean
years.
you need upside to win a championship?
Exactly. And you
It's-
mean that there's someone who's going to be out there on the waiver wire who's valuable that you
Right.
can pick up to support your stars.
Correct. Yep, give you that consistent baseline production.
But that's why we're extremely happy to pay up a little bit for CMC. Because
Totally.
if we're going star scrubs, I want the stars.
That's a pretty big star.
That's a pretty good
It's
one.
hard to one up CMC.
Now, Austin Eckler here, he went for $46. And this is one of those spots
Yeah, that was interesting.
that
I
was
was-
interesting. I don't know if I like the difference in cost between him and Jonathan Taylor. But here's the other thing. I didn't want to wait.
Right. You've seen every time, and we've done, oh man, it's had to be like 100
Absolutely.
mock auction drafts at this point in our fantasy career. It is way more often the case where if you sit back and you wait and you wait and you wait, all of a sudden you see a massive premium at the end of a tier, or just once and people start to realize, oh crap, there's only a couple running backs that I really want left. It doesn't have to be the last running back, just the last 2-3 of a big tier or a top 10 or whatever.
Yes. Whenever
range,
those guys,
everybody freaks out.
I absolutely agree. Those guys who want to be big bank for as long as possible,
Correct.
then they get scared.
Oh,
then they
panic
go
sets
all in for the end of a tier. Then they go all in for the one
Right.
guy that's left. We don't want to play that game.
I hate playing that game.
It's not worth it. You never. No one cares if you have money left at the end of an auction.
You don't get to take it with you. It doesn't
You
go
don't.
into fab. It just disappears.
So
Spend wisely.
not going to wait to hope for the luck of Austin
Right.
Eckler when we can get Jonathan Taylor at a major discount for that value.
Oh, totally, man. And that's the thing is like inevitably guys that you like will go for a discount, and that's fine. You can't like retroactively go back and
No.
bid on any of these guys. That's fine.
So you got to take the
Take it when you
opportunity.
can.
Right, exactly.
Seize the moment, Eminem once said.
one of our.
I thought you would like that.
I do like that. Our favorite.
I like the grin.
Yeah. So here comes a
Ooh,
Najee.
Najee. What's up, baby?
This was great to see because
I like Najee a lot.
We love Najee after watching his first two performances.
For like an hour.
We talked about him on Monday's podcast, and it showed that people were already up on him. He has moved up in ADP, even though we can't show it yet in ADP. And this is how you can tell. And again, this is why at this point you need to be doing live auctions, live mocks, because that's how you see ADP now, more than even Sleeper releasing their ADPs, which is great. Love it. Not going to be the best source. The best source is these.
It absolutely is. Because that's the thing. The people doing the mock drafts are the ones who are going to be competitive in their leagues. They're taking an interest in it. They're spending more time in fantasy football. Absolutely perfect.
So let's talk about this. He went for $54, the same as Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb went for $52, $46 for Austin Eckler. So let's break down where you have those four guys now, because we have moved up on Najee. Seeing him,
we did. He was awesome.
The first line of the first contact going into that second level. That was important to me to see, because he's going to get hit behind the line with this offensive line for the Steelers.
Yeah,
and so seeing him get through that and keep going. Now, this is preseason. He was going against the number one teams, but this is still preseason. There is a lot of trouble if you go too hard in a preseason game or these practices.
Oh, yes, we've seen it.
So, and then Antonio Gibson went for the exact same amount.
Oh, Gibson. Yeah, those five are really, really interesting. If I had to rank them, if I'm in a snake right now, who am I getting? I think I'm getting Aaron Jones for the upside. This is
above Nick Chubb. That's interesting to me.
Oh, Nick Chubb. My bad. Nick Chubb is higher. Then Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler. Then I got to go Najee.
Then Antonio Gibson.
Then Gibson, yeah. Nick Chubb is like my RB 5.5, depending on my decision with Zeke that week.
Yes,
they're interchangeable.
Definitely, I definitely like that. So, okay, so how much higher do you have Nick Chubb than Jonathan Taylor, who we paid $5 more for?
I've got him. So I've got Nick Chubb.
Assuming we know Quentin Nelson's back,
right?
2.
Yep, I've got Nick Chubb and.
Because I think we did draft him expecting that.
We did. Yes, absolutely. I had Nick Chubb, then I have Zeke, and then I have JT.
Is that the same tier or a different tier to you?
That's the same tier to me.
That's the same tier. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree, quite frankly. Sure. I have Nick Chubb above Jonathan Taylor just because Marlon Mack scares me there more than Kareem Hunt will get his.
Oh, of course.
You saw it last year. Get it last year and not stop Nick Chubb from being the top.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nick Chubb was a top 10 guy, and he missed like 3 weeks from injury. Like, that O-line is so good. It's a run-first team. You don't want Baker. This isn't even a biased comment.
No.
Who OU. You don't want Baker throwing the ball 500-plus times or 45 times a game. That's a recipe for disaster.
His stats, the amount of his statistics that match Gardner Minshew's.
Oh, that's right.
Are incredible. So
I love that. It's so funny.
I agree. You don't want Baker to be the guy back there, and they've moved away from Baker because of that, and I think it's worked out well for them.
Yeah, it was a great decision. I mean,
so here comes DeAndre Hopkins.
D-Hop.
I tried to get him.
I like D-Hop,
but we missed it barely on the click. That'll happen to us at least one more time.
I was going to say,
you see the mouse.
It starts hovering over. We're moving, yeah,
and then we just don't get there in time. But. $38 for DeAndre Hopkins was too much for us to let him go.
Yeah, that was really tough.
It was going to make us have to really adjust how we were going to draft the rest of the draft, but we were willing to do it.
Of course. Oh, yeah, definitely pivot. I mean, that's my wide receiver 4.
Absolutely.
I've got Tyreek.
Cheers.
Absolutely. I've got Tyreek. Then I have Devontae Adams, of course. Calvin Ridley is my 3, and then Nuke is my 4.
Okay. I guess I knew that because Stephon Diggs I know is lower for you.
Yeah, I'm knocking him down a little bit lower because of risk. He's closer to the mid to back end of the second for me.
Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he went for $39. I believe he was most likely where we were going to start looking for our RB2.
That would have been the plan.
Major value, which Jonathan Taylor was to us. That was an easy grab.
Yeah, that's not even close to me. Like, I'm I would love to pay up just a little bit for Jonathan Taylor compared to CEH.
Yes.
I'm thrilled with that. Like, that felt really good. CEH, you got to think the touchdowns have to go up.
The touchdowns will go up. I believe the touchdowns will go up for sure. But I don't know when they'll come. I do think that there's going to be a little more fluctuation in his week to week.
Sure.
Because you have Tyreek Hill who can go off. You have Kelsey who can go off. You have Mahomes who can just run in the touchdowns.
I was going to say, you've got so many weapons out there. Like,
so I definitely prefer Jonathan Taylor at the price we paid for him than waiting for CEH. The $18 there, that's nothing.
And at that point too, I think we would have been targeting guys like Najee or Antonio Gibson as well.
We would have, but I don't think
to get to the 130.
We would have looked at the 54. That would have still been over the 130 with 77.
Yeah, we would be like
CMC.
We'd be right there.
Yeah, we'd be a little higher, but You're right. So here we came back up. We went with Harrison Butker, our kicker. We went ahead and got him for $1.
We did, and that was a massive win.
We talked about this strategy.
That cracked us up. Yes, that was awesome.
We talked about this strategy last time. We usually throw defense kicker up early. If anyone spends more money because they're annoyed that we did it early or because they want that kicker or defense more, great.
Go ahead, spend up for it.
Money.
I don't care, especially this early on. That's the thing. Like I get it. It feels like, an extra $1 or $2. It's not a big deal. I promise you will see at the end of this draft, our max bid becomes $2.
Yes,
and like, look,
it mattered.
It mattered. We lost out on two guys. I think that we
did.
We really liked as kind of late round grabs or lottery ticket cheaper guys with some upside there, which is exactly what you go for at the very tail end of a draft. You don't want to bring a bunch of money, but man, that hurt.
I'm calling him out right now.
Oh, he sucked. I hated that guy.
His team isn't the best. I didn't like his team the most. He just was
screwed us
the one.
At the end.
Absolutely, he's the one who irritated us with his money usage there at the end.
And look, that's the great thing about an auction draft, though. Like, I don't mind that. Like, if you see somebody going for a guy, go ahead, make him spend up.
Yes.
Or go get the guy.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can kind of play those games. It just makes it fun.
The fact that you have the opportunity to get any player.
There's so much more yelling, and that's
fantastic.
Like, it's draft day. Like, yell, scream, have fun. God knows we do.
We do. I had to apologize to a friend for saying very mean things to him after the last auction I was in. So be mindful of what you say. Don't go too far.
Right.
But
within reason, of course.
Within reason, have a lot of fun with it.
For sure.
I still have to.
Absolutely.
I apologize to him every time I see him. I'm not going to say what I said.
No,
it was me.
Don't repeat it. This is only an R-rated show, so don't.
Anyways, AJ Brown just went for $37. Again, we were pretty surprised, I want to say, with AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins prices there.
Yeah, some of those guys really, because what's happening is you're starting to see the running backs go for maybe a little bit of a premium. Sure, there's some discounts with
but that's why we were
Eckler.
Sure to talk about the fact that this did seem like a stars and scrubs.
Right, and that's the exact way to play it.
RBs went for their ceilings or over their draft average or pre-draft
average
value,
cost, right?
Beyond Jonathan Taylor.
Sure.
All of them pretty much did.
And then we capitalized.
And we capitalized on Jonathan Taylor because of that. And we were fine with the wide receivers going there and still waiting because of how many are still left. And you'll notice from time to time, we've already done it. We've switched to wide receiver view to look at who's available to kind of remind ourselves.
Right, that's what we're focusing on at this point. We've got two running backs that we could, honest to God, both could be top 5. And the touches are absolutely going to be there. So like we said, Jonathan Taylor, the touches will absolutely be there. At running back 2, that feels really safe. The floor is definitely there. We're starting to look around. We've noticed, like you said, Jay, D-Hop, some of those guys started going at a really good price, like a pretty fair value. We're starting to look. We know we need to fill out that wide receiver spot.
But I want to say, again, you see the popularity contest come into play.
Oh, yeah.
Because DK Metcalf went for more than DeAndre Hopkins. And that's not something that you will be happy with at the end of the season, I believe.
I 1,000% agree.
So, and we talked about that before, how we had DeAndre Hopkins ranked higher than DK Metcalf.
I love
They're going to run the ball. Like That team went to a very heavy run the ball offense at the very end of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Then they fired their offensive coordinator and brought in another to run the ball.
Not good enough. Yeah, Rashad Penny's going to be healthy too. I've got a 70, either 65-35 or 70-30 split, somewhere around there
between
for Chris Carson
and Rashad Penny.
I mean, Russell Wilson's going to be ultra efficient as always. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback because some things just always are.
And he's going to steal a little bit of that touchdown upside.
Oh, yeah. He's still the mobility is what helps him sustain that.
It is that, and he does mobility the right way, though. He's looking downfield for smart passes.
He's looking for the opportunity.
Difference between him and, say, Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
That was the problem also a little bit with RG3 was the fact that you knew he wasn't going to throw the ball.
Yeah, that was bad.
Well, it was that and the fact he went slide.
Yeah, get down. Oh, that sucked.
So here comes up Darrell Henderson. He went for...
Darrell Henderson, huh, Jay?
Yes. I wanted to bring this up. J.K. Dobbins
I've never heard you talk about Henderson.
Josh Jacobs went for 28. Darrell Henderson is not going to survive a year. I hate to say it. I'm sure he's probably a great guy. He went for $28. There is a difference there between J.K. Dobbins went for $6 more, and that's crazy. And I'm not high on J.K. Dobbins.
I was going to say I'm not either, but wow, that was pretty wild.
I would pay the $9 difference between Darrell Henderson and David Montgomery is absolutely worth it to me.
Yeah, I can't believe it was only $9.
We've talked about the value of cash at the end. We talked about how $1 can make the difference. I don't care. Go get your guy.
Get him, man.
There is a tier difference there between David Montgomery and Darrell Henderson, and I'm going to go get it.
Okay, this one was interesting too. Keenan, we both love Keenan Allen. I think we've both got him as a top 10 guy.
Yes, and this is something I do want to point out.
Hit me with it.
Make sure you have your rankings with you going into this auction.
By tier.
By tier. We did miss out, and he hasn't come up yet, on a guy because we lost him in the rankings on ESPN.
Yeah.
That's not what we want to do. That's not what we should do.
Right.
I'm willing to acknowledge when we make mistakes. Gary and I, we
course.
talked about this.
Transparency is going to be the biggest thing about the show. We're going to fuck up, and that happens sometimes, but we're going to own it.
We're going to own it, and we're going to explain why. So we got Allen Robinson here.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Keenan Allen went for 28.
He did.
That was where we fell asleep at the wheel.
Right.
We thought $28, there's no way he's going to stop there. We didn't make a move fast enough, and he got away for too cheap. Allen Robinson, who was the guy that we were expecting to maybe be able to get late.
Yes.
That's still one of our top 12.
He's a top 12 for me.
He's a wide receiver 1.
Yes.
For both of us. Andy Dalton is a step up.
That's still the
Justin Fields.
You'd have to go back to when he was in Jacksonville, when Allen Robinson was in Jacksonville, and when they went overseas to Wembley, catching passes from Blake Bortles. That was the last time he had a great quarterback because Blake
only
Bortles
that week
in Wembley
only
is just
that week.
Always amazing, always like a top 10 quarterback. Only when he's in
that.
Across the pond.
That burned me so bad because there were a few games there where it just seemed like the Jags, who played almost every year in London,
right, the owner,
were the ones who were prepared for London because they played every year,
right?
And so they would always win. And then that burned me so bad because it switched.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
But you're right. Blake Bortles in Wembley was something special.
Was elite. We're talking Patrick Mahomes.
He really wanted to make sure that he really wanted the Jags to be the first team to be in Europe. And him to be the starting quarterback there.
Just ship him off. He's there.
Yes.
Yeah. Because now, right, even if everybody's yelling Justin Fields, I'm like, all right, you played again. You looked really exciting. You looked great. You played against the backups. You looked good. You checked the box. Andy Dalton's still probably the best quarterback you will play with in your career.
Andy Dalton, I agree. Allen Robinson is the best he's ever played with. Justin Fields did great, mostly on his feet, mostly running.
Yeah, he made some stuff happen, right?
Well, we'll see what happens there. I don't think he's going to be as quickly put in as maybe some Bears fans would like.
Might take a minute.
He wasn't the quarterback I was most impressed with coming out of this week.
Who were you most impressed with?
I was most impressed with the upside of Trey Lance, which everyone knew he had the upside.
Sure. But
him throwing some of those long balls, going out to the left, throwing across
his body,
across all the way to the right edge of the field. He had some great throws there that were fantastic. Now, he had some mistakes,
which will happen, yeah.
but that's what we expect. And quite frankly,
Get him out
you've
now.
seen that from all the greats.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Mahomes in
I was going to
preseason
say,
was awful.
that was ugly.
Peyton Manning's first season was terrible. This is not a guy that they need to start week one, which I love the fact that he gets to learn a bit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm excited to see him as we go on. Mac Jones looked like Mac Jones. Everyone else kind of played to the expectation of who they are.
Yeah.
Trey Lance is the one that, again, showed, even at the NFL level, that talent, that upside is really there.
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree with that.
Can't wait to see how that goes.
At this point, we also nominated our defense. Got Tampa Bay, was happy with that. Boom.
Yes.
Just filling up those starters, man. You got to get a defense at some point, so we did.
I agree. George Kittle, we were happy to let go at 22. That's not a value to us. We have too many tight ends that we rank higher than him.
Yeah, and you're loaded at wide receiver over there too. I think the injuries also concerned me a little with George Kittle. I mean, I get it. He's worth the risk, but Debo and
just Brandon Ayuk coming along.
Yeah, Ayuk looks freaking nasty, man.
Yes, I'm very high on Brandon Ayuk this year, and if Debo Samuel stays healthy for any amount of time,
dude, that'll be a really scary team. Especially, I'm not even banking on Mostert staying healthy like most of the year. Sermon's coming on at that point, and you're good.
He looked good as well. I honestly, the player that excited me the most was Najee. Seeing him in this for a second week, and that
Najee was
really
real.
did mean a lot to me when watching him get past that first point of contact.
Right, exactly.
But DeAndre Swift is the guy we missed.
We did. I know. That was crazy. I couldn't believe it. What did he go for? $22?
$23.
23.
And we had the money to spend. I don't think we would have. Well, would you have?
Yeah.
I would have actually.
I would have done it.
You're right. I'm sorry. I take that back. We both would have. Because
That's a guy I've
given us a max bet of $6.
Yes, and we will play that game.
We will play that game.
I'll play that game every single. Like, look at that lineup, man. Like CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Allen Robinson,
and DeAndre Swift at flex.
And behind a top 8 O line, maybe top 5. Like Detroit's line is great. Like on the border.
Penei Sewell makes a huge difference there, and they weren't bad to begin with.
I was going to say it's underrated just because of how much they struggled, but they had so many injuries last year anyway.
They did. So it was. I mean, I still don't expect them to be a great team, but I expect him to get a ton of.
I mean, the opportunity is going to be there 1,000%.
And so after this DeAndre Swift, I made a move. I went through and put all of the running backs that we were interested in the queue.
Yes.
I wanted to make note.
Lock eyes, figure it out. We need to know who we're targeting at this point.
Correct. So this was what guys do we think money-wise we can afford? We put up there Mike Davis, Michael Carter, Trey Sermon, and then Malcolm Brown, who was way too low on this list, even though the game had been played already. And if you listen to this podcast, go back and listen to the early episodes. We include it's important things. This isn't, this is off season. There's not enough news that fluctuates what we've said week to week. We call out when we change our opinion on someone.
Yes, absolutely.
But Malcolm Brown, someone I called out early as someone I loved as a late round lottery pick because they still didn't have money in Gaskin. They went out and got Malcolm Brown this offseason. Malcolm Brown was good with the Rams while he played before he got injured. He was getting the same kind of money as Gaskin.
Speaking of Gaskins,
there he goes. Let him go. Easy to let him go.
Yeah.
Not going to touch him. But Malcolm Brown, who came out, didn't play just the first couple snaps or split the series. He played until 4 minutes left in the first quarter.
Right.
Before they brought in Gaskin. Malcolm Brown's the head of that committee, and I want Malcolm Brown.
I want a piece of that. Yeah, let me get some of that.
Because I do like Miami this year. That defense is so good. They were top at
takeaways,
third downs. Also, their defense.
They were top 5 in takeaways. Defense is just rock star.
Just great. So, absolutely excited to see what happens there, but I think that run game is going to be important.
Yeah. Malcolm
Brown's the top of that list. So, go get Malcolm Brown. If his ADP doesn't shoot up, then I absolutely go get him.
So Gage has not shot up either, and that's a guy that you see later in this. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I can live, like, I've accepted the fact he's going to have games where it's not good. He'll have his 2 catches for 20 some odd yards, but that's not rare. You see that
No.
all the big receivers, hell, even the elite ones have disappearing acts. It's not unusual. There's a lot of volatility for wide receiver. It's not as consistent as the top running backs, right?
No.
That's why we place a premium on running backs.
But the best way to get rid of that volatility is volume, and there's
that's
just
guaranteed.
too many passes that are going to be going
right?
around.
I don't care about the new OC when I'm drafting Russell Gage.
No.
Right? Like, the volume is absolutely going to be
Kyle
there. He
Pitts
proved it last year.
Is not going to take all of Julio Jones.
A rookie tight end's not coming away with, in 17 games, 160 targets.
No, he's not.
Right? Calvin's getting some. Gage is getting some. Your tight end position overall will get some.
And Gage is going to get some.
Gage,
you said it, and I'm saying it again.
Right. I'm pretty sure I said that.
You
but yes,
did.
reiterate it a little bit.
You did, and I'm saying it again. Gage is going to get some. And Gage looked good multiple times during last season. So,
oh yeah, multiple. There was a week, I'm pretty sure too. It might have been against the Cowboys where Gage, Julio, and Ridley had 100 yards.
yes,
I'm like, when Matt Ryan trusts you, that's it. Like, he's been in the league for like 14 years or something.
He's
the
been
trust
in a
is
long
there,
run. Absolutely,
right? Like, it's a throw for pass heavy team. You're good.
And you're wondering, the next guy we put up, Josh Allen. We started to go quarterback heavy. No one else had put up quarterbacks yet after Patrick Mahomes going for $17.
Yeah, that was strange.
So it was throw those quarterbacks out there.
Yeah,
make them
spend
pay.
some money.
Because
that's the thing. At this point, when we don't have a big bank, we want people to go ahead. We're nominating people we have no interest in. We want you to spend money at the positions that we don't really care about. We're starting to think about, like you said, Jay, we've already queued up some players that we're targeting. Tyler Lockett actually just came up, and I think that's a guy we're both starting to really move away from.
We're both avoiding him.
The freaking disappearing acts.
The disappearing acts were tough last year. And to be fair, that's the hardest thing to say. The consistency is one of the things that fluctuates year to year the most. Still was not something we were looking for. We weren't going to pay that much.
No.
For our wide receiver 2 anyways, but especially not for Tyler.
I was going to say, and at this point, what we're thinking about for our wide receiver is, when I look at our lineup, which 3 actual starters, all I see is upside. We need a baseline. We need just steady targets. We need just a baseline of production. We don't need 25 points. We just need consistency here. That's what we're starting to think about at this point.
It is. So we just let Kyle Pitts go away for $11. Part of the reason was we expected to get Russell Gage late, as we always seem to.
Yes.
And beyond that, he was not the only tight end that we were interested in at this point. There were a couple other names that we knew were still available. $11 thought was a pretty fair price.
It feels
for him.
fair. I totally agree. Like, I would be fine with that.
Him and Mark Andrews went for the same amount.
And that was the point where we backed off. Seeing Andrews go for 11, I feel like there's a little bit of extra hype behind. And like, that's really what it came down to. It's just a little bit more hype around our guy. Pitts, thank you. Totally blanked. Mark Andrews, the targets are absolutely going to be there. The floor is there. There's really not a situation outside of injury. There's no way Mark Andrews is not a top 5 guy.
Right, and especially with Rashad Bateman missing most of the preseason with injury.
Thing. Yeah,
that makes a big difference.
That was the concern. The intermediary type routes that he runs, that is absolutely going to impact Mark Andrews.
But with him being out, missing that time as a rookie wide receiver, definitely was very high on Mark Andrews. That was I'm going to call that a bit of a miss. It wasn't really a miss. It was money management on our part. We really didn't want to spend $11 at our tight end.
Right.
When we still wanted to try to see what we could do at wide receiver. Because of the prices that we'd seen at wide receiver at this point, we were kind of excited by the opportunity to get still a pretty valuable wide receiver too.
Yes, definitely.
And you can look at everyone else's bank and kind of see, again, they went very much like us, star scrubs. We only had $38 left, but we still had $38 left. There's 2 people that had more money than us at this point. We're sitting here with the absolute solid cornerstones of our team with Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Allen Robinson. We couldn't be in a better spot coming to a great place to go get our wide receiver too.
Absolutely. And super interesting at this point, too. Javonte Williams comes up.
Yes. And you know what I love more than a wide receiver, too? A running back.
An awesome running back at flex.
And so
For $10.
$10. Grabbing him every chance. Every time.
I was going to say we're super bullish. I don't care about Melvin Gordon. I don't care about Melvin at all.
Already injured. Don't think he's going to stay healthy.
No.
Sorry, Melvin.
No, he was disappointing last year, too. I mean, I know his finish was actually a little bit better than I think most people realize, but it was literally because of health. I don't think he missed more than a couple games.
No.
He just happened to last longer.
You want to talk about QBR, quarterback ranking. The top quarterback ranking this last preseason week?
Yes.
Drew Lock.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Only going to help Javonte Williams if Drew Lock gets a little better.
Right.
If not, guess what? You're going to go to that run game.
Yeah, no kidding.
They went and got a great cornerback in the draft in the first round, and I'm really excited to see what that defense looks like this season. It's going to be fun. They had my top corner. I was hoping the Cowboys.
That's right, yeah. Before Perkins, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Before Parsons.
Parsons, that's right.
Michael Parsons.
Michael Parsons.
Dak Prescott went off the board at $8. Again, we're throwing up quarterbacks right now.
Yep.
We didn't throw up Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and then we're still going to throw up another quarterback here instead of going for our guy. But again, we're queuing up these guys. Kareem Hunt, way too low, $5.
Yeah, that's insane. And here's the thing about, at this point, it's like, yeah, we haven't gotten anybody for a while. Don't care. Patience is the name of the game.
No.
You get your guy initially, then you start playing the game. You get people to spend up. You know, we knew after we spent up on, our three key players, just got to be patient, wait it out, nominate the guys you don't want that you know are going to be expensive, and just sit back and relax.
I apologize. I was wrong. We nominated Jamar Chase. Quite happy with that. Again,
another guy that we don't want.
Another guy we didn't want.
Two other really talented wide receivers. We don't care for rookie wide receivers for fantasy football. Last year, we honestly really was an anomaly.
It was.
Doubt that that's going to happen again. Go ahead. Everybody else spend up on Chase. Go for it.
Everyone else think that Justin Jefferson's going to happen again. That a record-breaking rookie.
You mean that's not common?
The entire history of the NFL to get that number. That the very next year, someone's going to get even better. Incredible. Just ridiculous.
And I'm cool to sit back and watch.
Absolutely. And we saw that with – oh, crud. Absolutely.
Hey.
Cheers. It went for a while there.
I was going to say, there was a pretty long drought. Good job. I like to say absolutely now, too. It's just because you can't.
But you'd see that every season where what happened the year before is parroted a touch too much for the next year.
Yeah, it's overplayed. And speaking of Cincinnati wide receivers, T. Higgins.
So this is something you and I have talked about before, but we haven't talked about on this podcast. There's going to be value there in that wide receiver core.
Yes.
But none of those guys are standing. We're not going to pretend to know.
Right. It's going to be a week-to-week sort of thing. We called this when we did this draft. I love this.
Yes.
It's a watered-down Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiving core. That's exactly what it is.
That was a great call out. It is the best way to describe it. There are three guys who different weeks are going to be wide receiver ones, wide receiver twos.
You saw it last year, too.
And we're not going to try to pretend to be fortune tellers on which week you should play which. You don't get to auction.
Right.
Get
I was
going to
say.
Free.
Yeah, let me spend $80 on or $70 on all three of you and never know what to do.
And so now we went and got TJ Hawkinson. He was the end of a tier for us. We're not as worried about that tier break when it comes to tight end. When we saw Kyle Pitts go for 11, Mark Andrews go for 11, we knew that we would get the end of that tier for us.
I was thrilled with that. And look, it worked out. We did not get DeAndre Swift.
No.
We got the other ultra valuable piece on Detroit, and the targets are going to be there.
Yes.
Sure. I don't expect double-digit touchdowns from TJ. I don't. I just don't think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be a really small pie. I don't like paying $6.
I think he's going to get most of that pie.
I think he's going to get a big chunk of that pie.
Absolutely. Jared Goff is perfectly happy.
Goff
to go to the
loves tight ends more
Cheers,
than
by the
anything.
way.
Absolutely.
I think we're up to number 6.
Jared Goff loves tight ends more than anything in the world.
Sorry, that was an immature chuckle of me. Here comes up Chase Claypool.
I think of you as nothing but mature, so that's okay.
This was a guy I was interested in for our wide receiver too. but he got to the point where we weren't going to spend that much.
So has Deontay Johnson gone? I think he has.
Deontay Johnson already did go.
Didn't he go
He went for 16.
He went for 16.
Chase Claypool going for 11. Is that enough of a difference there for you?
Yeah, I'm going Claypool there.
You're going Claypool there. Okay.
I'm going. So I'm not paying up $5. No,
that's what I was asking.
They're too close for me. Like that's the thing. It's a matter of safety versus upside a little bit more, like we talked about last week.
Right.
The upside is Claypool. The touchdowns are more likely to be there.
Watch Will Fuller. He's going to go here for, it appears, $11, and I believe that's what stands. But we're going to go ahead and later in this draft, spoiler alert, we're going to go ahead and get the actual wide receiver one for the Dolphins week 1.
Miami Dolphins, baby. There's value there.
Significantly cheaper.
Yes.
Here comes James Robinson. James Robinson is a guy who I'm not drafting. He has no upside as long as Travis Etienne is healthy.
Yeah, the only reason to draft him is you think that, like, literally it's because of injury. That's the only path to upside I see.
He's a great 0 RB guy, but we don't recommend that strategy.
I hate the strategy.
That strategy is not fun.
It's not fun.
You're really hoping. You're expecting to lose multiple weeks in a row.
Look, I hope enough during
it all
fantasy
turns
football,
around.
right? I mean, come on.
That's not the way I want to play, and it's not a very successful way. Even if you told me, "Hey, I'm going to for sure lose the first 5 weeks, but I'm absolutely going to win the season, win the league," fine.
Sure,
but you don't know that.
No,
you're not even close to knowing that when it comes to 0 RB strategy. So no, James Robinson for me. I don't want a floor that's that low and no ceiling.
That's the thing.
At this point in the draft.
That's a really low floor, and the receptions aren't going to be there either because Etienne's a really good pass catcher. And here's your guy that just came up. We were talking about Robbie, so this was a really interesting one. I wanted to get Robbie. I know you love Robbie. He went for just a little bit too much money.
He went for a little bit too much. We also already had CMC.
Yeah.
I don't think that didn't matter to us.
No, not really.
Not at the price that Robbie Anderson goes for. The $8
or
was
for
high
our second
for
wide receiver, right?
I mean, right.
But yeah, normally we don't like to load up on multiple, same offense, but you don't always like to get all of Atlanta, right?
No.
Spread it out a little.
Spread it out a bit.
Capture upside a little bit.
So at this point, it's all autos except for Team Cohen and us.
Ugh, Team Cohen, the bane of our existence.
Absolutely. So we have our guys queued. That's still not who we're going to go with here. We're going to project up the highest QB, throw him up there for someone else to pay up for. And if we get Aaron Rodgers for $1, we're happy as can be.
Unlike if we get Eli for $1.
You had to bring this up both auction episodes?
Ugh, Eli. The draft, the year was 2014.
I want to say it was 15. It was 6 years ago.
Look, I don't like to live in the past, but
you're going to?
Once in a while, I like to just remind you, God, Eli for $1. That was the longest 20 seconds or 25 seconds of my life. Somebody else will bid on it.
Immediately after.
Look, but there's also a lesson there. I love getting people to spend money. Just make sure you pick a player other people generally want
money on.
Nobody wanted Eli. That just cracks me up because I don't like Eli.
No,
I don't like him. Golly, man, that just cracks me up.
The only person who likes Eli is Peyton, and that's not because he's his brother, but it's because he's kept Tom Brady from 2 more rings.
Yeah, seriously.
So here came up Damian Harris.
He actually looked really good too in preseason.
He did look good in preseason. He does look like he's going to be the guy there.
That was the thing that was nice to see. We weren't looking for a ton from the Patriot game, right? You mostly know that Cam's most likely going to start the year. Mac, you figure will come in at some point. So let's watch. Damian had the clear starting job.
Damian had the clear starting job. He's still not the most interesting part of that offense to me. The most interesting guy to me is Jonnu Smith. Because
Hunter Henry's hurt right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because of Hunter Henry's injury and because of how hard it is to learn the playbook for the Patriots, I really am excited to see what they do with Jonnu Smith.
I am too.
Mac Jones showed you the exact same thing that you expected, which is he's going to be hyper-targeting those.
He'll find a safety valve.
Small, yes, exactly. Those small to intermediate routes. He had the lowest yards per reception.
It was like 5 yards, 6 yards.
Per catch,
To be fair, though, that stat is a little understated because the rookie that they will end up most likely cutting in 2 weeks by like the 25th, Mac Jones actually had a really great 35-yard pass. It went right through his hands.
But I do think that the bread and butter of that offense is going to be those small intermediate passes. Yeah. They're going to rely on the defense like they have for years and years.
Right. It's not going to be these
This
deep,
is Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
here.
You're not going to see Tyreek Hill or big, massive Mahomes type plays. That's just not going to happen.
Here we go for Kareem Hunt. We put up $7 there. We were willing to spend basically half of our flexible budget.
Yes.
But
he's worth it. I mean, he was a top 10 last year. I think he was number 9, actually. 8 or 9, right above Chubb. He
was great. Cone got him.
Ugh.
The first of the times that Team Cone irritated the crud out of me. It won't be the last time.
Unfortunately.
But we're still sitting here. We're waiting for... You saw me switch over to Cone's team to see, and then be...
Who do you have?
Quite frankly...
We're good with it.
Yes. To look at that wide receiver core and go, nope, if Jamar Chase is your wide receiver 1, I'm perfectly fine with your team being your team. We're still here kind of just waiting it out for our wide receiver 2. Looking at the guys that are left, we were interested in Brandon Cooks, but we thought his price was decent now at this point, which was kind of always the case for auction. Auction, we thought he was better priced than his ADP, which is it's a surprising thing, but it also is along the lines of what usually you see in the pre-value auction versus ADP, because you're going to have a little bit of a smarter player than the romanticized valuations that you sometimes see on ADP. So it sometimes switches back and forth. Brandon Cooks at $7, we thought was a pretty decent price for him.
Yeah, and that's the thing is
Michael Thomas right behind him with the injury risks there.
And the injury risk, trade risk. You saw him come back from injury last year. He was complete trash. I don't know if he scored a touchdown. He either had 0 or maybe 1. I don't even think he did. But coming back from injury, that's always tough. He had the surgery. Brandon Cooks is just very safe. I love that. Like, he's consistently 5 out of 6 years been a top 24 wide receiver. The targets are going to be there. It's just insane. You don't have any competition. He's never been the guy who's relied on touchdowns either. I don't think he's ever had double-digit touchdowns.
So I will let you know you were correct. No touchdowns for Michael Thomas last year.
I thought so.
But you're correct. Brandon Cooks, absolutely a very safe floor. There's no one else who I'm worried about there for the Texans.
Yeah, and I was going to say, normally
even
we don't.
With Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, and the thing we always preach is go for the upside. That's specifically related to our bench, right? When you're drafting guys that you're not going to play, you're going for upside. I don't care about I normally won't care about a Frank Gore who's going to get 12 carries and 40 yards and once a month fall into the end zone.
No.
When you have the upside that we've got for a starting lineup, I want Brandon Cooks. I want my 6 for 65. Give me that all day. And then I'll win matches from the upside of my running backs, my wide receiver 1. I love Allen Robinson. We already hit on that.
I agree. That when we're talking about a starter that we're wanting to use for multiple weeks.
Correct.
The guy who's the smallest amount, he was $1 more than our tight end.
Right.
I want him to be as safe as possible.
That's it.
Give me 10 points a week and call it a day.
Yeah, 5 for 50 and let's move on.
And that's all I want from him.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor. The guy I spent 11 times as much, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the guy I want my upside from, not Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was the safe, go get him, done.
I love that. Oh, my goodness.
So at this point, we've got everyone except for our quarterback on our starting lineup. Our bench is still there. We have a max bet of $8. We were going to throw Mike Thomas out there, but we didn't get him, and we were fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't need to come away with Michael Thomas.
No.
There is a world where I take a shot on him, but I'm hoping when I do take that shot, I want it to be at the very end of a draft. I hope everybody gets nominated before him because I don't want to have to make the choice of do I want to actually spend a few bucks on Michael Thomas.
All right. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and go to the end of this draft. We've got everyone, like I said, except for our quarterback. We're going to go ahead and switch this up. This is where I'm going to pause the recording of our draft, and we're just going to go to what our draft actually ended up being.
Beautiful.
So here are all the teams. We're going to go down to ours, Old Fashioned Fantasy
The
Podcast.
one the listeners actually care about, the best draft.
Absolutely. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Harrison Butker, Allen Robinson, all the guys that you saw us draft. Then we got Mike Davis for $4.
That was huge.
Definitely.
Love that they picked up Deontay Foreman as the backup. There's no threat at all there.
No, not at all. Him being there, the top guy on our bench, after getting Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and Javonte Williams, couldn't be happier with
game over
with that. Jalen Hurts went for our quarterback, $1. High upside guy. If it doesn't work out, guess what?
We'll stream. We'll figure it out. We do
Not
that every year.
it.
Yep, we're good.
Antonio Brown, one of your favorite
baby.
there at the end.
Woo!
Then Devontae Parker.
Yeah,
that was who I talked about. Wide receiver 1 for $1 was an absolute steal. He had a terrible year last year.
It was atrocious.
Awful year.
It was offensive.
But 2 of the weeks where he was a wide receiver 2, he was week 15. He was wide receiver 15 both weeks. Were with Tua. And the year before,
2019,
wide receiver 7.
Right. I was
wide receiver 7 in half PPR.
That was after the year after in 2018 when he got freed from Adam Gase too.
Right.
It's like, oh, this dude can actually ball.
Now last year, COVID.
Yeah, kind of a freak year.
Totally a freak year. And also, everyone knew he was the wide receiver 1 on a team with bad running.
There's nothing.
There was nothing else. You were going to heavily guard him. You had a QB dilemma there. You had a QB competition going on.
Right.
Guess what? This year, it's Tua. You've got Waddle there.
Yep.
You can't just double Devontae Parker every play. This coaching staff is, quite frankly, just too good. They'll make you pay.
Totally agree. Tua takes another step forward. I love it.
Yes. Devontae Parker, his upside is absolutely there. Tua is one of the most interesting quarterbacks this year to me because I love his accuracy. He throws some passes he shouldn't, but it's because how much he trusts his arm. I'm excited to see him and Devontae Parker having a season together. For $1, I love that upside. You'll notice on this team, we don't have Russell Gage.
Oh, I know. Who was that? Cohen that took him?
That was Cohen.
God.
That was Team Cohen, of course. We did get
Look, that's going to happen in actual drafts, though. You're going to have guys just staring at you like, no, I'm taking – I know who you want. I'm grabbing him.
The other guy –
made it realistic.
Yes, and the other guy he grabbed that we wanted was Carter. Perfectly happy with that, though, after we grabbed Sermon, Malcolm Brown, Mike Davis, and then the guys in our starting lineup that we already mentioned. Amon-Ra St. Brown. We just wanted to go, again, we were going for those wide receivers that are lottery tickets, but have the volume coming.
Right.
And then J.D. McKissick, just the last guy on our bench. There really wasn't much else that we were interested in out there. Just went ahead with a guy that we feel comfortable having to play him if we have to. Otherwise, quick drop for someone with a higher ceiling.
Right. I mean, and like you said, the last couple of guys will most likely drop at some point pretty quickly in the season when weird stuff happens, injuries are going to happen. We'll pivot.
We'll absolutely pivot. But very happy with how this ended up.
It looked awesome, man. I loved it.
Great. Yeah. God. Very, very excited. Team Cone, just because he irritated the crowd.
Oh, he's the worst.
Do want to bring up Jamar Chase as your wide receiver 1. You can't have that. You just can't.
That's offensive.
He did, like I said, most of these guys ended up going star scrubs, paying up for those wide receivers. He kind of overpaid for Clyde Edwards-Helaire there.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No, quite happy to get Javonte for $10.
No kidding, right?
Like, there's a tier difference there, but still, $29 difference.
Not that big of a gap.
No. Deebo Samuel.
Cool.
Marvin Jones, Cole Beasley, and then Russell Gage. When you're most reliable wide receiver is the $2 wide receiver at the end of your bench, that's not a good setup.
I was going to say that's the most reliable and probably easiest path to upside. Russell Gage.
I would agree.
I mean, Atlanta is going to be trash on defense. You have to score. They're going to
score. Injury risk is wide.
It's huge, right? I mean, the talent's there. You just the health risk.
We're not going to go through the rest of these teams. I'll slowly scroll through them. If you want to pause and look at them, you can. Again, we saw a lot of these guys. This was a team that they didn't spend enough. The remaining budget, $56, and you can tell. I'm just going to call that out because, again, you don't take anything away for having the highest budget left. When you spent the most money on Darren Waller, Thielen, and DJ Moore at $20 a piece, your team looks like it, and it's not worth it at the end of the day.
No way.
This team was better, but I'm just not a fan of J.K. Dobbins. I'm not a fan of Darrell Henderson this season. So he paid up, but he paid up a little bit for the guys that I'm not the highest on.
I was going to say, you've got – so 4 of your first 5 over there are running backs. And, I hate that. Yeah. You've got a few RB2/flexes kind of there. Don't really, Nick Chubb's not enough upside to win you a league.
This team, absolutely happy with it. Great.
Stars and scrubs, man.
Okay. Stars and scrubs. Jonnu Smith for $1 is an absolute steal.
Yep.
His bench
Evan Ingram.
Hell, but that's kind of expected because I think he was on auto. I actually thought his draft was
that's probably second. I would say that's second place. That's pretty solid. A little bit of risk there with Saquon.
And then Chris Godwin, we're not especially high on him just because of the other guys who could eat into his.
No, I mean he'll have a better year assuming he's healthy, but it's not going to be what it was
Cooper
2
Kupp
years
was
ago.
A great grab. I'm.
If
I walked away from this with this starting lineup, I would consider that a very good team.
Yes, I would too. That's solid.
Not a huge.
Hey, Joe Mixon's the first guy.
Yeah.
That's enough said.
Exactly. Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek, CD, Woods. I just look at this and scream, I want more running backs.
I was going to say, you don't have running back depth, which you will not be able to find throughout the year.
This guy I liked, except he overpaid for Derrick Henry, and it kind of showed the rest of the time. Well, he went and got Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, but just, again, I need more RBs there than just Derrick Henry, even though I love the upside of his wide receivers.
Yeah, totally.
Of course I love his wide receivers. I mean, 2 of those guys.
They're top 5 guys, right? Yeah.
So, anyways, just slow scroll and done. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great night.